I think the block bet here doesn't make too much sense, unblocking all the two pairs that you want to get value from. I prefer a bigger size here, and we can block bet or check those queen X that have a pair and therefore block two pairs. All right, everyone, I'm thrilled for a new video type. And actually, yeah, you can see it already. We will look over the shoulders of our very own Fedor Holz today. So lucky me, he was streaming some cash. Yeah, I'll run his footage on some extra speed and we'll stop whenever I think something is getting interesting. Super excited to what will be happening. So let's start right away with I guess, first hand here on NL 5000 heads up against Ivan Galinets, who I think is a very well-known high-stakes pro, played on Stars as well under Croatian flag, and he open seats those tables quite often, so he decided to join Fedor here. And yeah, we're playing some heads up. Queen 7-3 Rainbow, definitely a board where he keeps his... where Fedor keeps his range advantage. I think we can have multiple options here. C-betting small with high frequency is just the standard thing. You can definitely split your range here and play with a check back range, and then sixes are obviously fine to check back as well. From how I know Fedor, I think he likes the batting pattern a little more, so let's see what happens next here. While Kevin is joining as well, very good high stakes player. And yeah, Fedor goes for the 40% bet, gets called. 5 is another, yeah, interesting card. I mean, I won't comment all the action, but we'll go into detail when I feel like Fedor has a real decision to make, and this is what we see here for the first time. So very interesting how he decides what button he chooses on that river. I think he has multiple options. And yeah, against Ivan's sizing, we have a pretty clear bluff catcher here. It seems to be some kind of hotkey sizing, so on those stakes, not too much to read into that. He's repping like a 9x plus, I would say, and yeah, maybe a7, king 7 makes the cut. So something like that. We're definitely not beating his value hands, and now it's just about evaluating our sixes as a bluff catcher. What could Ivan's bluffs be? Right, so the 4-5, 5-6, the natural flop draws, they got there hitting the 5 or making a straight. We blocked the straight, not sure how relevant that is here. And so yeah, obviously guys, it would be awesome to hear Fedor's thoughts here as well. But most of that footage, actually, he had music running that we cannot put on YouTube. So we are in silent mode, just trying to look into his brain and see his decisions. It seems like he's on the fold button quite a lot, gets shown the 8. I think the 8 of clubs always has to be a value hand. Maybe some ace-8 offsuit, but that would be an ambitious bluff on the river, I guess, having so much showdown value. So it's more like the 9-8 or the queen-8 of clubs, queen-8 offsuit, obviously, as well. Okay, so king 10 on that ace-8 jack 10. I mean, this looks like a range c-bet with his hotkey sizing, turning at 10. Yeah, I mean, now, interesting spot. Seeing that min bet, and we definitely have a call here. We cannot fold king 10 to, what is that, 12% pot. Yeah, it's just like, where's the point where we want to raise? And I could even see that being a 10 where the kicker plays. Like, is a jack just betting 12%? Pretty much always being ahead? Or just clicking the 25% sizing? Is that more like a queen 10, 10-9 type hand? I don't know. I would definitely consider both calling and raising. Folding not an option. And yeah, I would like to see him tank a little. Whatever decision he makes, actually, the more I think about it, the closer it gets for me, so I'm fine with either way. But he seems to be talking, to consider everything. That's really fun to see. And decides to just go for the call. And it's like, right, sometimes it's not so tough to read into hands. Right? This is just what calls on the flop, what decides to like go for the thinnest of all values on the river. I said queen 10, something like that. So king 10 it was. And this is something how watching those videos, right? And there are other great YouTube videos out there. Just check out the channel, like My Play and Explains. Check them out as well, and just try to do the same thing I'm doing here, right? Just predict what's happening. You see showdowns, you see how very good players play, and spot the situations where things are different. That's actually the best thing, when you have the feeling that I don't know, and you see a very good player to have the same feeling. He doesn't know either, or it is like very, very close. That's the best confirmation you can get. So here seeing Fedor contemplate every option, and then really seeing Ivan having exactly that type of hand just like gives me a good feeling. And this is something, yeah, you might think about flatting your pocket fives here, calling that off as a bluff catcher, and then looking into king 10 all the time. Here you got the same thing without just paying the money. So very, very nice to see that. All right, here we go again. Mr. MTT, pocket fives is the line in my charts. So pocket threes with his weirdly small sizing. Yes, not really a thing in the tournament world. It's just too wide. So something, if you spot something like that, right? In this spot, you should have like small blind versus button against the standard first in range. You should have like 15% 3-bet. Things that you could do now is just, well, against his smaller sizing, it's getting tough, but 4-betting quite aggressively helps. And you could even, if someone uses a standard 10BB sizing, for example, and even against that, seeing that king jack off versus cutoff, seeing those pocket threes here, you can just implement a jamming range as well. Like there's no way villain calls enough to not make your pocket fours, pocket deuces jam profitable. Mix it in with some other jack 10 suited type of hands, ace king offsuit. So yeah, there are plenty of options, and I want you to just like think things through. Okay, why is that a mistake what he is doing? It's like not a mistake in the first place if you're not reacting accordingly. So I always want to know, okay, what is the correct reaction? First of all, not overfolding, right? Something like king 6 suited, jack 8 suited, fist pump snap calls against that sizing and Fedor's range here. Very, very important to not run away in spots like that. Top right, ace queen, you can bet almost full range on that rainbow dry board here. Yeah, here now what I would love to see it would be Kevin like being obviously super linear, cold 4-betting on the very, very light side, right? Fedor is forced against that sizing with that stack depth to call all pockets. If he has them too often, it would be awesome to see Kevin not only 4-bet like 9s plus, but have like 7s plus, something like that. To have like not only ace queen, ace jack, and some ace 10 suited, but to go even looser here. So I hope to see a showdown, maybe find a hand like that. That is something that Fedor cannot defend against properly anymore, just because he started with too wide of a range. Ace queen on that jack, not really happy obviously, because the main hand that Timinator has offsuit is ace jack that we beat. So the jack is a very, very different card to a 6 here, for example. Villain does not really improve to second best hands. It's still enough to go directional in for ace queen, but it's not the moment we should be happy. And if the river is hearts, or is bringing some other things, like a 10 would be bad as well, then all of a sudden our ace queen cannot really go for stacks anymore, which would really hurt. So now that ace queen, I think, is too thin of a... I'm actually not sure, because the ace of hearts is out there, but villain has all kinds of flush draws, backdoor king high flush draws that did float the flop, all the 8x of hearts, and given Fedor's small sizing, I told you already pre-flop that pretty much the suited hands cannot fold. So that ace queen, I think, is just a block bet and then evaluate, or even a check fold. I think stacking off is too light here. Right, for every nuts that call against you, you need to find a hand that calls you and you beat, more or less. Right? Villain will have all ace jack combos, pocket 8s, pocket 3s, ace 8, ace 3. Maybe not those that he raises at some point. He will have 7-8 of hearts, maybe 6-8 of hearts, 8-9 of hearts, 10-8 of hearts, king queen of hearts, king jack of hearts, king 10 of hearts, maybe queen 10 of hearts, 9-10 of hearts. So these were a couple of combinations. For every one of those that I just listed, Fedor needs to find almost one combo that villain calls and that he is ahead of. One like ace-9 of spades, some of that. And I think this is very, very tough. And let's see whether he reconsiders and does not jam, or he closes his eyes and hopes to get looked up very, very light. So nice. This is exactly what I just described. What I like to see in those formats here is really snap clicking the all-in bar to the very right there, thinking about it. I'm sure he's talking about it as well, and then reconsidering, pretty much having go through his head what I just talked about, and then making a different decision just on the go, just realizing how ranges play here. So nice queen jack of diamonds. It's obviously very, very close turn call there. And that pocket threes, this is just like the fight back from the king 10. It was another player there before, but just going for the 10% bet, fighting against all the ace highs in the world. I like to attack, like this is lots of face upsizing. Just attacking that very, very thinly for value is great, and then adding some bluffs. Obviously, this is, you just need to call enough to not allow Fedor to just bluff his 4-5 of clubs there too profitably. And yeah, unfortunately, we don't see a hand, but yeah, very, very interesting. So it seems like we have heads up going on now against Kevin. Let's try to focus on that a little as well. And yeah. Very interesting. Small blind versus under the gun. 3-bet pot top there. Again, ace jack offsuit is not a thing against under the gun. So it's just, again, definitely being too loose. But it's tough to play back against Fedor if you just see him pop up there. Yeah, I can just say, okay, that's probably the right counter. A very, very tough counter. But yeah. And obviously facing that race is just, that should be a range being consistent of like some ace kings and some pocket threes. I play without that raising range here to keep my range together. So this is always like just very, very player dependent and random often. Some players are full of shit all the time. Some players just have exactly ace king and not any bluffs. So it's just very, 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 very tough and great to have strong reads, right? Just folding ace jack here. It's like if he, I guess Fedor's conclusion was that this guy has like pretty much only value hands. And he would have won more if he just called the flop. If he just like had the miracle bluff here, good for him. But yeah, being that loose as Fedor and then only calling off ace queen, probably ace king, is obviously big overfolding, and he could just be random with any two, but that's usually not what's happening. All right, so let's see that bottom here. The heads up, I think that was a small flopsy bet. I mean, what is it? 125 to 50. So it was like probably a 75. No, what is? Yeah, $75 bet going on the flop or on the turn. I'm not sure. I think the block bet here doesn't make too much sense. Unblocking all the two pairs that you want to get value from. I prefer a bigger size here, and we can block bet or check those queen X that have a pair and therefore block two pairs.